Yo, listen up. I'm going to be reviewing Stinger by Robert McCammon. That's right. I'm Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Man, I love me some Robert McCammon. He's one of my favorite authors. If you saw my top 10 favorite novels ever written, my top 10 favorite novelists, Robert McCammon stuff, he shows up in both those lists. So you know I love the dude. I got a grip of his books. This is only half my collection I brought here. The other half is across the library. That's where I'm in. I'm in my library. The other half of his books are over there. And if you've seen my book tour, my library tour, you know that I've got every Robert McCammon book. Most of them signed. I met the guy. World Horror Convention in Salt Lake City. Stinger was the first ever Robert McCammon book I read. Maybe not my favorite, but certainly holds a special place in my heart as being the first. So I thought I would reread it and review it for this YouTube channel. By the way, we always review the covers. You know, in every book I review the book cover because I love graphic design and I love illustration and I love artwork. So let's take a look at this one here. This is an illustration, simple, very simple illustration of a alien demon claw coming out of the sand. Painted by illustrator Rowena Morrill, who, by the way, has painted a lot of fantasy illustrations, especially in the late 70s, early 80s, and early 90s. And she also bears the distinction of being Saddam Hussein's favorite artist. Because when they raided Saddam Hussein's palace, they found a lot of Rowena Morrill paintings in there. Just a little side note. I've got to say that I love the very 80s-esque graphic font. I love how a lot of these old Robert McCammon novels have that very, very distinctive 80s horror novel, horror movie feel. And where Rowena Morrill is a really talented illustrator, I don't think this is one of her best illustrations. And kind of, let's just say the lady's done better. However, for what we're going for what we're aiming for this story, I think this, along with the typeface and the goofy little illustration, I think it works, and it works fine. And I probably wouldn't change a thing. That being said, let's get into the book itself. What is Stinger? Stinger takes place in Inferno, Texas. The middle of the desert, hot desert in Texas. It takes place over a period of 24 hours. Small town Texas, much like Stephen King's Small Town Maine, we run into a ton of awesomely drawn characters. And Robert McCammon is a great writer, and all of his characters in this book. Just think of every Stephen King novel you've read that's set in a small town and all the great characters in it, specifically novels like Under the Dome or Salem's Lot, where there's just a lot of characters, or even Needful Things, where you just get to know everybody in the whole town, from the high school kids to the teachers to the police to the mayor and everybody in between, right? That's kind of the setting we've got, but in small town Texas, Inferno, Texas. Everything's going well in Inferno, Texas, except, it's hot, and there's a lot of poverty, there's gangs, and the high school is full of gangs, the rattlesnakes, and the renegades, and they don't like each other, so they're causing a lot of problems in town. It's just kind of this hot, stifling, dead-end place, is what Inferno is, really. It doesn't come off as pleasant at all, to be honest. I wouldn't want to live there. And then it gets worse when an alien spaceship or an alien artifact crashes into town. And then, on top of that, another alien spaceship thing crashes into town. So the first alien spaceship thing that crashes into town is some dude named Dufon, an alien named Dufin or something like that. And then the next alien spaceship crashes, and it's a bounty hunter from outer space that's hunting Dufin. and is known as the Stinger. Not only that, but the town itself sorts of gets placed under this like sort of force field like Stephen King's The Dome, so nobody can escape the town because this bounty hunter doesn't want this alien guy that he's been chasing across the galaxy to escape. So boom, they put this, it's kind of like Under the Dome. It's like this book is a cross between, really it's a cross between The Outsiders by Hinton, you know, a lot of teenagers, teenage gangs, a lot of that kind of stuff, and it's all real well written in that avenue. And then there's the Dome, so it's like a cross between The Outsiders and the Dome, mixed with The Mandalorian, or the Book of Boba Fett, or whatever, because we got this bounty hunter who's hunting his prey. Now, just picture this. This is why this book is awesome. Because it's a horror novel. This is a straight horror novel. Because the people of Inferno, they don't know what the crap is going on. All they know is there's these weird things in town chasing each other and hunting. It'd be like, just imagine if, you know, you didn't know who Boba Fett was, or you didn't know who, some Grogu, let's say you didn't know who Baby Yoda was, and you didn't know who Boba Fett was, and let's say that they both crash into your neighborhood, and then they're chasing each other around and blowing shit up, and, you know, they're busting through walls, and they've created force fields, and everything's just going nuts. You would think you're in a horror novel. You'd be like, I don't know what's going on, but there are creatures out here that look like the Predator, and an alien just munching and crunching and crashing and burning and shooting at each other and like hiding, and then it's like they're going in and out of everything and just destroying everything in their path. You'd think you're in a horror novel. That's the basis for this horror novel. The people of Inferno, they don't know anything about this galactic space adventure and bounty hunt. All they know is there's aliens up the town. This is just super. It's absolutely super. It's great. It's fantastic. And every character, and I won't mention a lot of them, but they're all well drawn. The high school kids, the high school bullies. I mean, it's got everything. It's just got all of that small town family drama, especially a burnt out, dusty, and dead small town, you know. It's got all that drama mixed with space opera characters, kind of like the Predator, and then mixed with they're under the dome. They're under the dome and they can't escape. All within the period of 24 hours. It's just a delightful. It's the book that got me hooked on Robert McCammon. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, it's no, it looks thin, but it's about close to 600-700 pages of absolutely delightful 1980s horror novel nostalgia stuff. I mean, if you love Stranger Things, boom, done. If you love The Mandalorian, oh, you got that. If you love Stephen King's Under the Dome, you got that. If you love, you know, The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, done. Robert McCammon, I know I keep calling, I apologize. Every time I do one of these videos, I call him Robert McCammon. I know it's McCammon. I get chewed out every time I do a McCammon review. 9.5 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10. This is a badass horror novel. It just is. Everything the dude writes is just badass.